Nevada Statewide Independent Living Council. Thank you. Welcome to the Nevada Statewide Independent Living Council. This is the first day of our two-day quarterly meeting. Actually, it's our annual meeting. So today is Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. And we will be meeting again tomorrow at the same time for the second day. Thank you all for coming and joining us today. Wendy, would you be so kind to do a roll call, please?
Okay. Evander Davis.
Present.
Vicky Essner.
Present.
Jennifer Kane.
I am here.
Raquel O'Neill. Kate Ostie.
Here.
Ace Patrick.
Here.
Saber McWhorter.
Here.
And Dee Dee Formaster. I'm sorry. Oh,
Whether you did say Julie.
okay, yes, you did come on. Thank you so much, Julie. I also did not call Cheyenne Pasquale yet. Okay.
Okay, are we good, Wendy? Quorum?
With Julie here, it looks like we do have quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Wendy, could you please verify the posting?
Yes, it has been posted.
Thank you very much. All right, everyone. So hopefully you have your agendas in front of you. We will move on to item number 2, which is public comment. I would ask that people in the public and also the council members, please keep your comments under 3 minutes or under as best as possible. So I am going to open the, please, also too, please state your first and last name as clearly as possible so that Wendy and our transcription can hear your names. So at this time, I'm going to open the floor for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time?
Ace, this is Cindy Swanson. I did raise my hand. I think hope that worked. Can you hear me?
Hi, Cindy, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. In reviewing what's happened over the last several months with different reports and different research, and particularly a lot of the notes that we had for today's meeting, there seems to be a lot of at least reported effort in connecting with employers for training. And I don't know who has heard me say this before, but I keep talking about it, that I think one of the barriers to people with disabilities getting employment or going out for employment is they're so totally in the dark about public benefits, and how a good understanding of that is they will be able to have a long runway to losing benefits. There's a whole lot of information before that happens. In retaining SSI, gaining SSDI, keeping Medicaid. And I'm kind of in the trenches because I'm a mother, so I'm around a lot of other parents who say, well, I don't want my child working because they'll lose their benefits. And I know Nevada lost its WIPA people, but I think part of the training that SILC, and there's a lot of talk about collaboration, SILC, and maybe even working with Dr. Cosgrove's group, the Governor's Council, Commission Serving Persons with Disabilities can collaborate and put together multiple trainings on work incentives and maintaining benefits. I was on one of these months ago and I talked about impaired related work expense, and a lot of people weren't aware of that. So there's some very basic things, and that is something I'm not quite sure where to go with it, but that's what I would like to see my adopted state to collaborate to teach the families, the self-advocates, what there is, because I think they would be more empowered to go to work. Thank you very much for all your service.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there any other?
And Ace, this is Obiama. I do have my hand up.
Okay, Obiama, go ahead.
Hello, this is Obiama Officer. I am the Executive Director for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Commission. I just wanted to say thank you first and foremost for providing sign language interpreters today so that I could have access, and those of us who are ASL users could be able to communicate. So I'm very grateful for that. But I also wanted to let everyone know that on July 19th from 3 to 5, we will have a resource roundtable where we will be able to have discussions in regards to resources for GTC, global technology communications, global technical communications, excuse me. So that is what we will be sharing in the roundtable, which is access not only for those who are deaf and hard of hearing, but those who are speech impaired who use sign language to communicate. So we wanted to give you a heads up so that you could be able to be a part of that, or you could be a support or learn more about those resources and take part with us. So you're welcome to join us. Our website will have the posting about the information and about what the agenda will have and what you need to know. And so hopefully, if you are interested, you are welcome to come, and we just wanted to let you know. And again, thank you for welcoming us to be a part of this open meeting.
Thank you, Obiama. Is there anyone else for public comment?
This is Dawn. I don't see any other hands up at this time.
I'm waving my hand.
Hi.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Hi, this is Ace. Who is this?
This is Peter Whittingham. This is my first time attending these meetings. I'm happy to have a chance to attend, and pleasure to be here. If I may, just as a comment on the statements made by Cindy. I am the board chair of the Down Syndrome Organization of Southern Nevada. And there are a number of my members who are in the dark in terms of their access to benefits and the extent to which they may be deprived of benefits if they continue to work, as Cindy said. And so I think it's just so important that we create an opportunity for all of our members, service population, to have access to this information. And I will offer my organization, our office, to hold a meeting of our members. If we can have somebody with the expertise, we can do it by Zoom or in person. We have monthly meetings, and we also have occasions where we have guest speakers coming in. And so this could be one of those occasions where we would have somebody who is very knowledgeable on the subject, who can provide information and make themselves available for questioning from members, so that we can all have a good understanding of the process.
Thank you, Peter. Peter, could you please so kindly spell your last name?
Yes, I'm sorry if I didn't. Peter, P-E-T-E-R, Whittingham, W-H-I-T-T-I-N-G-H-A-M. And as I said, I'm the current board chair of the Down Syndrome Organization of Southern Nevada.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, any other public comment?
This is Dawn. I just wanted to make mention that I did see Dee Dee. She did arrive.
Okay, this is Ace. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Dawn. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. Dawn, you see any hands raised?
Unmute.
And how do I?
Hi,
Oh,
it's
hi.
Dee Dee. Sorry, I couldn't
I'm
get
sorry, who is this?
you. This
It's
is
Dee
Dee Dee Formaster.
Hi, Dee Dee.
I'm sorry, I'm having technical problems. So I am now Linda. Just to confuse everyone. I did want to say that I think that the clarification and information about the Ticket to Work program and getting the information to the consumers. It's true. A lot of people don't know enough information about that. And I have that question often in my office. But that's what our Centers for Independent Living are here for, to be able to answer those questions and point people in the right directions. But I agree, there needs to be more training and outreach to the public because there is not enough. And we're at the point right now where the piddly amount of SSI won't even pay the rent. So more and more people with disabilities need to be employed just to be able to get off the streets. So, and a barrier to employment is, of course, living on the streets. But that is another barrier to our employment problem. But I think they're right. We do need more outreach and more information in regards to that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Is there any other public comment?
This is Dawn Lyons for the record. I don't see any other virtual hands or physical hands in the pictures at this time, but I do want to mention that Julie Taylor is the WIPA representative for our state. However, she's located in Colorado. And she was supposed to come to the self-advocacy conference on SILC's dime, but she has had something come up at the last minute and she's not going to be able to come. We will have her flyers available at our vendor tables, but I think she would be the correct person to ask to give a Zoom training. So possibly if Peter, you and I can reach out to Catherine from the DD Council and, I can reach out to several partners and see if we can get together and ask her to do something like that and figure out an occasion where we could have that arranged. I would think that more than just one council would be interested. So it sounds like there's a lot of interest.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay, one more chance here. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to item number 3, which is an approval of the meeting minutes from April 20th and 21st. Is there any changes or anything that we aren't aware of that from those meeting minutes that Dawn needs to be made aware of? If not, can I please?
Ace,
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up that the last SILC meeting, I didn't get to address some of the changes that I really wanted to see in the spill. And so I just wanted to make sure that I still get a chance to talk about that.
Okay. But right now, what I need is a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting. Thanks, Dee Dee.
Ace,
Yes, Julie.
Julie was good start. I move that we approve the minutes from the last SILC meeting.
I'll second it. This is Dee
Thank
Dee.
you, Julie. Who was the second? Dee Dee, you were the second? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thanks, there's. Okay, Julie has made a motion and Dee Dee a second. Wendy, would you please do a roll call vote?
This is Dawn. Before we do a roll call can I just use the discussion opportunity really quick to address Dee Dee's concern?
Sure, sure,
Dee
go
Dee,
ahead.
I just want to let you know there are 2 areas that we will be addressing in this agenda in the next day. Which is, and I'm not sure if you were actually talking about changes in the spill that you were suggesting or changes in the policy manual, but either one, we do have agenda item number, because we were going to revisit some of those that we didn't get to the last meeting. So it was agenda item number 14 is for the policy and procedure manual, and then agenda item number 16 will be talking about the state plan. So in either one of those agenda items, you can bring up your concerns or your suggested changes.
Yes, thanks, Dawn. Okay, let's go back to the motion on the floor. And Wendy, if you would please do a roll call vote.
Yes, Evander Davis,
Aye.
Vicky Esner,
Aye.
Dee Dee Formaster,
Aye.
Jennifer Kane.
I'm a non-voting member.
Oh, I'm sorry. Raquel O'Neill. Oh, did I miss her? Okay, I missed her. Kate Oste,
Aye.
Ace Patrick,
Aye.
Julie Weissman Steinbach,
Aye.
and Saber McWhirter.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all. Motion passes. Yeah, Dee Dee, most likely we will get to those items probably tomorrow.
Thank you, Ace. I
Oh, thank
just was concerned.
Sure, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Thanks, Dawn, for the clarification. Okay, let's move on to item number 4, which is a report and discussion regarding vocational rehabilitation's employer training data. This is Ken Pearson, and he is the Chief of Disability Employment Policy at Voc Rehab. Is he here?
I am here, Ace.
Hi, Ken.
Hello.
You have the floor.
Okay. Well, thanks for inviting me. Also, I have a colleague that's on your board, Vicky Eisner. So, hi, Vicky. What I do here at the Vocational Rehabilitation Department is one of my duties is to run a business services team. And in that, we always go by what the vision in the mission statement of vocational rehabilitation is. And really it's designed to help people with disabilities become employed and to help those already employed perform more successfully through training, counseling, and other supports. So the business service team, we work with the employers, employers out there. So on the team, there's I act as the business service manager, and I have 2 business account managers, one in the south and one in the north. Utilizing the business service team benefits Nevada employers in the hiring of people with disabilities. So there's things that we do. Business service teams, we work with local and national business partners to develop strategies that support businesses who want to build and maintain an inclusive workforce. We also partner with the public and private sector businesses to help increase awareness of the benefits of hiring people with disabilities.
Ken, this
Yes.
is Dawn Lyons. I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you want me to share your presentation, or you have the ability to do that if you want?
I don't think it's necessary. It was in your packet. So
Okay,
I'll just run through it. And then if we have some questions, we can do that. How's that sound?
okay.
Okay. So what we do when we call on businesses is we talk about the no cost features of what we do for our employers, and one would be business or disability awareness training, and we use a product called Windmills, and it's been on the market for over 20 years, and it's a very good training for the employers on how to onboard, how to guide their employers or their employees with the when hiring people with disabilities. And we can do that virtually or in person. We did quite a few virtually during the pandemic. We used to always do them in person before the pandemic, but we have the ability to do both. We always help the companies, the employers, with their online recruitment tools. And we utilize the state of Nevada Employee MV is one of our tools that they're able to access on the recruitment. We inform the employers about our hiring incentives, and there's quite a bit of hiring incentives for people with disabilities, and we always make sure that they know all about that. We also work with them on job accommodations. We distribute a lot of resource materials, like the Job Accommodation Network, all sorts of materials that we would think and hopefully help the employer out understanding just to help them with hiring people with disabilities. We do technical assistance. I know that Vicki does a lot of the technical assistance for people with low vision, and so we do a lot of that with all our clients, and going out to employers, the employer's place of business. And we also train our internal team, as in counselors, internal job developers, and everybody else on what we're doing out there, and try to make it very transparent to the employer, our internal teams, our external teams, and the clients. So it becomes a win-win for everybody. So I got a little report here. I think this is what Marshall was asked to get. So I wanted to give this to you, what we did last year. And we just wrapped up our fiscal year end June 30th, 22. So 12 months. For 12 months, the team outreached and contacted 588 employers. And that is a phone call or an email and a return response. So they were, we know that they got the email. We know that when we're talking to them, obviously we're having a verbal conversation with them, and also maybe a Zoom call or that. But that number, total number, is 588. So the number of meetings with employers, and what that means is we talked to them the first time about we'd like to discuss the possibility of having your company hire people with disabilities, and like to talk to you about that, and explain what we can do for you. So at that point, when you're having a discussion, in those discussions, we had 68 for the year. Now that's pretty good conversion rate, being about 11.5% of the businesses that we were able to contact. And we do a lot of outreach with job fairs and those kind of things out in the community. And we did 10 job fairs last year. So I'll just go through these. There was a summer job fair in Las Vegas that we did. Governor's Job Fest, which was a really big one. That's when Governor Sisolak had his big job fair in Las Vegas. The Nevada Association for Behavioral Analysis we did. We did a spring job fair. We did a summit. It was the Governor's Provider Summit. We did a small business job fair and a public service job fair. And the public services job fair was everything that Nevada, the state, the county, the cities might offer, and their employment. So there was a lot of opportunity for people with disabilities to get into that public sector. And then also we did a Reno Sparks Chamber job fair and a Las Vegas job fair and Las Vegas Business Expo. We also strive to do in-person tours for the company, is to actually get our counselors, our techs, even the clients, if they, and family to come visit an employer. And that, obviously from the pandemic, that was a really tough go. And then after the pandemic, started to lighten up. It's been a tough go, but during that last 12 months, we did do 4 tours within the walls of a company. And one is called Safe Flight Defense Tour. And that's in Henderson. And space. Another one is Spacecraft. That's the name of the company, and that's in North Las Vegas. SK Foods is in the Reno area. And then we had Amazon, which is in the North Valleys in the Reno area. So we did 4 actual in-person tours with our counselors and staff and support staff and anybody that we could grab and do a tour with. So those are our numbers. I would be hopefully able to answer any questions that somebody might want to throw at me. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ken. This is Ace. Are there any questions for Ken or comments?
Can I ask a question, Ace?
That's Peter.
This is Peter Whittingham from the SOSN. Ken, good job, I think. In fact, I can speak to one of your colleagues, Laura, who's from a local office here in Las Vegas. Just a wonderful lady that she has reached out to a number of people that I know. But here's a question for you. Of all the job fairs that you've had, Ken, do you have data on how many persons with disability were hired as a result of those job fairs?
That's a great question. And I do not have that information, and I try to get the data, but I do have some success stories when we hear about it, but it's not, we haven't tracked that. So along with people without disabilities, it's the same kind of thing. So when they do, they go to a job fair, maybe their job developer was with them, we'll be able to track that data. Or if they went to the job fair and got a job and then reported back to their counselor, they didn't have a job developer, let's say, with them, we could track that data too. But other than that, I don't have any numbers for you, Peter. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. So let's talk about as I understand it, you had outreach maybe about 500 and something companies, and you, if I understand it correctly, I may misunderstand it, but if I understand correctly, you eventually got a chance to talk to maybe about 68 of those companies. Am I correct?
We talked to all 588 through a phone call or an email, but the lower number is when we actually started to engage with them and have conversations.
Okay, so, but the question also.
Hey, Peter, hang on, Peter. Just so you're aware, normally this is a council members meeting only. So we will, like Dawn said, we'll probably, there will be other things going on and other committee meetings that you are more than willing to join and share your voice with. But I'm worried that if we don't get through the agenda items, don't let the council members speak, that we run out of time. And thank you though for the questions that you're asking me, because I know they're very pertinent and very important as well. So so I just want to make sure that I'm clarify that, because otherwise I have everybody in the world jumping in and so but be aware that in the future, but thank you for your questions, by the way. In the future,
wanting to open a question for.
No problem.
Acknowledgement or invitation for questions.
Not a problem. I hear that you weren't aware of this. So anyway, are there any other council members that would like to ask Ken any questions?
So this is Dawn Lyons, and actually I have some questions along the same lines that Peter was asking. I'm curious, out of that 588 employers that you received contact from and you contacted them, how do you decide, I'm assuming that there's a whole larger number in Nevada of employers. How do you decide which ones to reach out to, and how do you know, like, are you reaching out to rural area employers as well, or is it just the main north and south, Washoe County and Clark County type of employers? I'm just curious, how do you guys determine all that information?
We reach out based on population of where, so the client base, we have more clients in Las Vegas than the Las Vegas market than the Washoe County market, and then in the rural areas, obviously less clients. But when one of the counselors says, "Hey, I have a client that's looking for being in a manufacturing type position. Do you know of any manufacturers out there that might be compatible with their skill sets?" Then we will make cold calls to them and try to get into the door to talk about that client. And then working with the counselor, that's when it's the counselor's, there's a handoff. Here's the company and that. So we do tailor to our clients' needs when they're with the in their employment plan, what they were looking for. So we'll go out there and try and find a company that would be a match for them. So it's targeted.
Thank you. That makes sense. And then I guess I was kind of curious if you had a list of particulars that are addressed when you speak to these employers, like do you cover how many hours you want to work? Do you cover, I know you cover like, I know you're talking about targeting employers that would fit your client's needs, but what types of training do you offer, and is it like a list of different types of topics that you can provide to us, or is it more abstract, and how do you figure that out?
Well, for our team talking to employers, it's more disability awareness training that we would talk about, and then incentives to hire people with disabilities. When it comes to maybe they might come in and say, are we going to need, if they're looking at an individual that needed an accommodation, we would set that up with somebody that could help them on the, for the employer side and also the client side. But trainings on, every single client is going to have a different resume and a different skill set and a different type thing. So we're really just in a broad fashion talking to employers about hiring people with disabilities, not a particular thing and not a particular person. So that's when we open those doors, you know, we provide that information to the counselors and the internal job developers and try to get that going on their end.
So
Does that
are
make
there
sense?
some trainings that kind of cover like what all hiring people with disabilities, what would like be a blanket kind of training that would encompass all disability employment that you would recommend to these employers, or is there anything like uniform about it is what I'm asking?
I think the disability awareness training that we do is a great start. And I would like to offer it up to any, you know, we could do a module for you guys, and you could kind of take a look at it as the starting module, what we would present to a company, and we could do that through a Zoom meeting too. And they're into 1 hour blocks, so it'd be a 1 hour block of your time. And if you wanted to arrange that, we could do that.
I would personally really like that because I think we could probably provide each other with some good input on that.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, love to do it.
But this is ACE. I think that's a really good idea. I think a lot of people would be very interested in that. Any
Well, we
other
could, you know,
questions?
do it within one of your meetings or a, you know, outside one of your meetings. It just whoever wants to attend. Like I said, it's virtual and we could just get a good time and date and do it for you.
Well, most definitely. This is ACE again. It might also fit into one of our committee meetings as well. You know, that would be for the chairs to figure out with Dawn. But we do have several committees and subcommittees and work groups that maybe that might fit into very nicely as well. And that way
Sure.
also to some more of the public that are interested in that information and speaking with you could attend those, and we could have more of an open forum
Sure.
at that time.
Uh,
Are there any other questions for Ken from the council members?
It looks like either Dee Dee or Linda has their hand up.
Okay, which one up first, do you know?
Well, they're both coming from the same
It's,
mic.
yeah, I actually,
Oh, they're both coming from the same, oh, right.
I
that's
think
right.
Dee Dee is Linda.
Okay, got it,
I'm Linda, but Linda's here with me.
got it.
I'm
Hi, Dee Dee.
just trying to, you know, confuse everyone, you know, add a little mystery. Anyway, I was gonna say, Ken, I think that it would be absolutely wonderful if you could maybe help some of our consumers, and if you could have a Zoom meeting like with Peter's group, as well as a lot of the other groups, and kind of inform us a little bit about the Ticket to Work program, how it works, and things that can be done as far as people getting employment, because like I mentioned before, Ken, the housing costs are so extraordinarily high that a lot of people with disabilities are on the streets because they're $884 or whatever they happen to get is just barely meeting the rent. So I think I see in the future more people with disabilities needing employment to be able to survive. And so if you could shoot us email, and let's try to tie all of us into the meeting and get this done, because consumers need this information now.
This is Dawn Lyons. Just out of curiosity, Ken, are those parts of the employer trainings is talking about what types of hours employees can work if they have disabilities, or?
That is in the disability awareness training that you, being an employer, will probably obviously need to be flexible in this kind of stuff. You know, and the flexibility about what, you know, you come to you want a candidate and perhaps they're, you know, they can't work that many hours. What about this? And so those are discussions that are done in these activities and within the training. On the nuts and bolts, like the ticket to work, that is a program that counselors and job developers might be able to use, but I do not have the expertise in that. So I would try to find somebody to talk about that, but I'm not the guy on that one. So I'd just be steering you right down the wrong hole.
Well, I can honestly say that if, Ken, we could kind of tie you and the person with the expertise on ticket to work together, and then try to get maybe a Zoom conference going, I think that might really help a lot of our consumers.
Whatever you want to do, you can. Dawn has my information, and I'm more than happy to help.
This is Dawn
Sounds great.
Lyon. I just think from what Ken is saying, he could provide an hour training to us that it would be an example of what this disability awareness training is that VR provides employers. That sounds like a really good separate topic to have a meeting on. And then we can possibly have another separate meeting with the WIPA program director as soon as I can get a hold of Julie and make that arrangement. But I think afterwards, it might be a good idea to have you both in one of our subcommittee meetings to answer questions in regards, so that both of you can kind of tag team the questions and get our consumers' questions answered. But if you're willing to do that, because I think that's wonderful that you're willing to give us an example of your training. So I will get with you behind the scenes after the meeting, and we'll make some arrangements with our partners, and we'll figure out what works best for all of us. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, I thank everybody for your time.
This is Ace. Thank you so much, Ken. I really appreciate you being here and the information that you gave us. And I know this will all come together eventually, and everybody's questions will eventually get answered one way or another. And so thank you again for your time and being here as well. So just real quick, no other hands up, correct, Dawn?
I do not see any at this time.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you again, Ken. And we'll be in touch with you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thanks all. Let's move on to item number 5. I know Mary Evil Sizer is out today. Is Lisa Bonnie here at all?
She is.
Sorry about that. Trouble unmuting.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on to, I wanted to make sure you were here, Lisa, before I did this. Otherwise, I was going to move things around a bit. So we're going to move on to item number 5, which is a report and discussion regarding consumer trends at the Centers for Independent Living, and an update regarding the National Council on Independent Living Scholarships. And also I know that last time the council was asking for an update on how the public health workforce funding is being used. And I know you've got lots there to talk with us about today. So Lisa, you have the floor. This is Lisa Bonnie, who is the Executive Director of Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living, too, by the way.
Thanks, Ace. Pleasure to be here. I wanted to start with the SILC funded scholarship program for the Nickel Conference, because that is the most imminent thing at the moment. Last time we met, we had chosen our scholars. We've been working with them, getting them ready to go. That conference is coming up very quickly. Everyone has been slated for their travel And they will be traveling to Washington, D.C. on July the 24th. As part of their scholarship, each student and each teacher also received a year-long membership into Nickel. So they have access to all of the information that's available through the Nickel, the Nickel website. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the National Conference on Independent Living, but the conference this year, it's the first year back kind of from COVID. So it's a rather unique blend of, they're calling it a hybrid conference. Some people will be live and some people will be viewing remotely. They're splitting some of the sessions up. To be really honest, I think it's going to be one of those things you're going to understand it better once you get there, because some of it's been a little confusing. But be that as it may, everybody's very excited. We have a student with their guardian traveling from McGill. And so they'll be going through Salt Lake City. We have a teacher from West Wendover who's actually caring for an elderly parent through their summer break. So he's traveling from down in California somewhere. I apologize, I can't remember where, but he will be going back to West Wendover. And then we have a student from Washoe County, as well as a teacher from Washoe County. So, and then guardians, of course, for the underage. So all in all, the SILC funded scholarship is sending 6 people to attend the conference. So 2 students with their guardians and 2 teachers. And everything looks on track with that. There are some COVID precautions. We have got our fingers crossed that this is going to go okay. So, pardon me, more in the future about that. Let's see, what else did I want to talk to you all about? Oh, I had been asked to provide some insight into any trending that we're seeing at the center. And in addition to our business as usual services, we're seeing an increased demand, of course, for housing services. That's no surprise. That's going to be the way it is going forward for a while, and especially with the diminished housing inventory that we're experiencing in Nevada. But we're also starting to see an uptick in requests for assistance in learning how to apply for SSI, SSDI, the different programs. My advocates are seeing more demand for that. And the other thing that we're seeing is a bit of an uptick in requests for DMEs. So durable medical equipment for those folks that I acronym our problem, and I apologize. It's just a part and parcel of what we all do. So we're starting to see a bit of an increase in the requests for access to materials like that. The center is in the final phase of our rollout on our vaccine project. So that money sunsets at the end of September. So we're going into the last bit of that. And I'm sorry, with that, that's a collaboration that we're doing with the COVID task force, as well as Immunize Nevada. And then the other thing that's happening is the last of our CARES money sunsets at the end of September as well. That brings an end to, we've been able to provide PPEs throughout the pandemic through CARES Act money. So we no longer have any funding for that side of things. So we'll be sending out what we have in stock is what we have, is what I'm saying. And once all of that is gone, we don't have funding to go out and purchase anymore unless something changes. What we have been doing is the federal government it's been very piecemeal, their distribution of N95s into the community. They were doing it through some of the larger drugstores here in the area. I don't know in Las Vegas. I only know the areas that we serve. CVS was the biggest portal to get the N95 masks. And so what the staff and I have been doing is every time we go into a CVS, we would ask for masks, and you get this bag of masks. So we've been stocking up just personally to fill the gaps for our consumers. So as you know, we have a little bit of stock there too, but it is not going to last for very long. And with the numbers going up the way they are, we are very concerned. So there is that. Sabra, I see your note there. We always refer to Care Chest. Always. You guys do such a great job. And, you know, that is always where we send folks. It just seems like all of a sudden there's a surge for folks looking for equipment. And I believe that's all I have at this particular point in time. Thank you.
This is Ace. Thank you, Lisa. Are there any questions for Lisa from the council?
Well, this is Dawn Lyons again, real quick. Lisa, is it possible, did you ask for the public health workforce funding?
Oh,
additional?
apologies. I have two notes here to myself to talk about that, and I didn't read either one of them apparently. Yes, we did. And we are actually working on a collaboration currently to use that funding to support mental health. And so we're working with some technical advisors on how to put it all together so we stay within the lines, because for those of you who are familiar with this block of money, it's extremely specific. It doesn't have wiggle. So we've got something, you know, that we're working on, and we're trying to make it all fit so that we will be able to fund this project. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I was wondering, are those partners, could they be the DD Council and NDOC and SAID maybe, or are they someone else? Because I know.
Oh, no, there's someone else.
Oh, okay. Okay. Have you spoken with any of those entities? Because I know that they were trying to figure out what the best use and collaboration would be.
Oh, when I talked to them, they had plans.
I know NDOC already hired somebody, but I don't know if that doesn't leave room for collaboration in some sort.
Well, I know that NSAID, when I spoke with those entities, NSAID and the DD Council had partnered on a project. So yeah, I had talked with everybody. And this money, I don't know if you guys are aware, this money rolled out in a very strange fashion. It came very quickly, and it came, it was confusing. And so quite truthfully, it came in a way that we didn't know who else got it. So, you know, unless you just started calling through your list, yeah, I kind of found out about it. I found out about who got some of it at a DD Council meeting. I didn't know. So it was very strange. The whole transaction has been very strange. I'm hoping that the reimbursements won't be strange.
This is Dawn. I fully agree.
Yeah, it's been a weird one.
Yeah, this is to say, good luck with that.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, maybe in the future too, you can give us an update on you know how that's going.
Oh, happily, once everything's put together, and you know, I actually have some actual hard data, and we've got some commitments in place. Yeah, I'll be really honest. The first project that we were trying to put together blew apart. It just, you know, it did not go where we wanted it to go. So we had to go back to the drawing board. The good news is this money sunsets in 2024. So, you know, and it's not a huge amount of money and it has to be spent mostly on salary. So, you know, we've got a little bit of time to be thoughtful in how we apply it, and, you know, what the project looks like. So, sorry, I didn't mean to ramble. I know that we're time sensitive.
This is Ace. No, you just gave us some good information there.
Oh,
thank you.
I always just assume everybody knows this. So, and I should know around this stuff, it's just been confusion. Yeah. September of 2024 is when this money will sunset.
Well, that's good. That does give you a bit of time then.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to continuing updates then on how it's going. Well, thank you. Any other questions for Lisa or comments? Okay, none. All right, Lisa, thank you again for being here. with us, because I know that you're not officially a council member, but we really appreciate, you coming and, updating us on everything that you're doing. Really exciting to hear about who you're sending to Nickel as well. That's really awesome. So thank you again. All right, let's move on to item number 6. And this is a report and discussion regarding consumer trends at the Rural Center for Independent Living. Dee Dee Formaster is the executive director, speaking as Linda or Dee Dee, or one or both. And same thing with you. Go ahead, Dee Dee. You have the floor for a bit.
I went in and changed my name back to my name, Dee Dee.
Okay, this is
Anyway.
A12, since I can't see, but I appreciate that. Thank you for everybody else so that they're not so confused.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about the housing grant a little bit. So we did now considering we had, for last quarter, we had, for the entire grant, we have 10 hours a week. So during that 10 hours a week for last quarter, we did 28 intakes. We got 9 people off the streets, and we were able to preserve 19 people's housing. Housing is still an extreme problem. As a matter of fact, they just released data saying Nevada again is the worst state in the nation for workforce housing as well as low-income housing, which I always hate those things, but we're right in there. So something really desperately needs to be done. I am also seeing some trends with the deaf community out in the rurals. We had a client call us that needed a cart system, and the judge decided that putting a microphone on his lapel was just fine for her, and that he could talk to her that way. And she said, "Excuse me, but I can't hear any of the attorneys or what's going on in the court. And I want a cart system." And he said, "Oh no, that's way too expensive." And so we had to write a letter of accommodation. We ended up filing with ADA because they think that they don't belong to the United States of America and have to comply with ADA. So we're in a battle with them. Most recently out in Pahrump, we had an interesting situation where we have the state who luckily has a wonderful woman out there in Pahrump who is a person who has a significant hearing disability. So she's does ASL, and she received a child from the state of Nevada who is deaf also. And for some reason, the state of Nevada thinks that she does not need an ASL interpreter. So that's another battle we'll be fighting. But it seems like there's some problems in that regard, that a lot of the rural areas have obviously never heard of the federal ADA regulations. So Education is what we're there for, and advocacy is always what we're here for. And so we're working hard out in our rural areas to try and meet the needs. And but housing, just like Lisa, brought up also, is a major issue. And I think the only thing that's going to change that is legislative action. So, which is what I have been working on. So, anyway, does anybody have any questions?
This is Dawn Lyons. I just wanted to ask really quick, with that deaf person taking on a deaf child, are you talking about the foster care system?
Yes, I am. And they need to get with it. So, and the communication is occurring with state offices out there in the rural areas, like the WIC office. And they advocated to try and get an interpreter out there. And they were informed that they had to pay for it. So I am totally and completely confused by the fact that the state is telling another agency that no, they can't pay for it, but that they need to pay for it. And so, it's something that we need to address. And we just need to help the rural areas become better educated about people who are hearing impaired, as well as the ongoing battle that I have with the city about keeping the walkways clear, because of course we know that blind people and people who are visually impaired can certainly see the obstacles in the middle of the sidewalk and won't bump into them or fall in a very deep hole. So that's my ongoing fight.
This is a ongoing battle when you're one of us walking the sidewalks, yeah.
Yeah.
Or running right into people. Or trees, tree limbs.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, thank you, Dee Dee. Are there any other questions for Dee Dee?
This is Dawn Lyons, just for the record, Dee Dee, it would be great if you could make public comment and let the Deaf Commission know that tomorrow they're meeting at 9 a.m. And I can forward you the Zoom information for that meeting. If you would please give them that information, that would be great. I know Obioma wanted to ask you, but she's not part of this, part of the membership here, so.
Yes, I am just, I'm pretty shocked and appalled that, the rural part of Nevada no longer belongs to the United States of America. Just want to let you know, what can we do but laugh?
Well, and I agree that there needs to be some community education on that. And I think the
Oh,
Deaf
yeah.
Commission and SILC can work together.
That's what the Rural Centers for Independent Living and NNCIL and SNCIL are there for. And we need to get out and educate. And, if we need to, we are going to have to file complaints. And I'm sure NDLAC would be happy to back us up. So it's vital that we are educating every moment that our doors are open.
I agree. Thanks. Thanks, Dee Dee.
Excuse me, Ace. This is Kate Oste for the record. Can I just ask Dee Dee something real quick?
Oh, most
Sure.
certainly. Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you. Dee Dee, would you have time either Thursday or Friday that you and I could have a little conversation about some of your concerns and so I can just get them down on the record. Would that be okay?
Yes, Friday would probably be better because the second half of the SILC meeting is Thursday.
Right. Okay, so Friday, what's a good time for you?
Let's see. Probably at about 10 in the morning.
That works for me. All right, thank you. I won't take up any more of the time. Thank you, Ace. I appreciate that.
Does
This is
any,
Ace. Thanks, Kate. Thanks,
Does it-
Dee Dee. Anyone else have any questions or public comments for Dee Dee? Well, good work, Dee Dee. Thank you very much for giving us an update, and we look forward to hearing more and about, you know, the complaints that you filed and what comes of it in future meetings. So
well,
let's-
that's what we're here for.
Thanks, Dee Dee.
No problem.
Good job. Okay, let's move on to item number 7. I'm actually going to turn this over to Dawn so that Dawn can introduce our new Action Council leader, Cody Butler. Dawn, you are on.
This is Dawn Lyons for the record. I just wanted to introduce you guys. As you knew, Marina's last day, or you may not have known, but you should have been informed that Marina's last day was May 27th. She had another opportunity that came up. She couldn't pass up, but she's still part of the Youth Action Council, but we needed a new youth leader. And so from Marina's recommendation, we hired Cody Butler as our new youth leader. And so far I'm very impressed, but I will let him tell you a little about himself.
Hello, everyone. This is Cody Butler. I'm happy to be here. I'll keep it relatively brief. I'm an autistic self-advocate, and I've supported people with disabilities on a volunteer basis in a variety of with a variety of organizations like the Special Olympics, Facilitate Joy, and Special Needs Community. And I am a sociology undergrad at UNR. And so what the council, the Youth Action Council, has been working on is we've been trying to reach potential new council members. I suspect that we will need funding for onboarding paid council members to be able to get committed council members, because a lot of young people with disabilities don't have a lot of time for unpaid work. And we've been working on finding new ways of distributing our monthly newsletter through the SILC website and other venues. And we are currently looking at options for an automated scheduling software to support people with executive function challenges and getting them connected with events and resources. And that is all for me. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
This is Ace. Welcome, Cody, and congratulations on your new position. And
Thank you.
I know you will do well in working with Dawn and the other however many council members you have in the future. And so thank you for being here today. Are there any questions? I know that Cody is also working with RCIL. Is that correct, Cody? Or will you will be? Okay.
Yes, we're going to be partnering in the near future for a grant to support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Dee Dee has her hand up.
Dee Dee, you go ahead, Dee Dee.
Hey, Cody, could you get a hold of us, because we really need to talk to you about the possible grant opportunity.
Okay, yeah, I have I'll be calling Sandy this Friday.
That would be absolutely great.
All right, awesome.
We appreciate you and we appreciate the wonderful future that you bring to our youth council.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
This is Ace. Thank you, Dee Dee. Are there any other questions for Cody at this time? For
I don't
Cody?
see,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Don. Was that you, Don?
I thought I heard someone else starting to talk.
Did you see someone else? Was somebody else on the council have a question for Cody?
Maybe not. Okay. Could
No.
have been just an echo I heard. So I would really like to give you a warm welcome, Cody. I wish I could do more over this virtual format. I'm so excited to have you on board, and I'm really looking forward to all the great things I know you're going to accomplish. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Donna. I appreciate it.
This is Ace again. I echo Don's words. Is there anyone else that has a question or a comment for Cody? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Cody, thank you again for coming today and introducing yourself. And definitely, I know that we look forward to hearing more about Youth Action Council and what you are doing and the work that you will be doing in conjunction with our CIL in the future. So thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you, Ace.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item number 8, which is a report on the Assisted Technology Independent Living Program funding stream and waitlist. And that I'm going to turn over to John Roseland, who is the director of the ATIL program. Hi, John.
Hello, can everybody hear me okay?
Can hear you.
All right. All right. Use the phone and the computer so you don't have to hear my fan kick on. All right. John Roseland, Aging Disability Services, and work with the Assisted Technology for Independent Living program. I see we have always having some new people, so I'll just do a little brief background on the AT for Independent Living program. Stands for Assisted Technology for Independent Living. Program's been around in Nevada for about 30 years. Was created by the SILC and Assisted Technology Councils and what used to be the Office of Disability Services. And the program has a focus on supporting people living in the communities, living in their communities, and providing solutions to barriers that are in everyday living. So it has a focus on the barriers in basic, essential everyday living, being able to care for yourself or receive care in the home, and removing those physical barriers. My time with the program's been coming on 20 years. It's actually how I got my start into the disability services type of field, starting with the Center for Independent Living in Northern Nevada, where I ran this program. Then later came on with the state and oversee it among the other assisted technology projects within the state. So the program is, again, focused on removing those daily living barriers. And because there are limited resources or no resources that address those issues. As we age or we acquire disabilities or we move out on our own, housing doesn't come pre-made accessible in a lot of cases, or on acquired disabilities, the modification of those houses don't come with resources. As we've heard other people talking about with employment and the barriers to employment for people with disabilities, what's that do? That puts you in a lower income bracket. That puts you in a position where you can't readily afford many of these things. So doing simple things like modifying the home or buying assistive technologies that you need may not be attainable. And this program's was designed to cover those types of things. And with the use of the state funding, that's where we use those dollars to purchase that assistive technology. So Don had kind of said main things like funding, what is the funding into the program, the federal funding we get from you folks, the Nevada SILC, is $140,000 a year. And that primarily goes towards the operation side of things. That's the staff, that's people that are engaging on the phone with the consumers and helping them flesh out what those independent living goals are and what those barriers are. The importance is that people often call for a solution. They're calling for a ramp, but until you engage with them and really start talking about what their disability is and what some of those barriers are, and start looking at that continuum from the time they wake up until they go back to bed, what those barriers may have and what they may actually be struggling with. So looking at that and engaging with that is really what the staff people will be doing from the time that they call until the time that goal is either met or withdrawn. Primarily, what people engage with us for is modifications to the home and the assistive technologies that aren't readily available to them through the sources that they have, whether that be Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance, or private resources that they have. That's kind of a quick and brief update for anybody that hasn't listened to my spiel before about this program. One piece I did forget to mention is that the prioritization that this program's always carried, and that is for people that are trying to transition out of a care facility or at high risk of going into one. And so if there's issues going on in the home, people are falling or trying to get up the steps, or if there's barriers that could quite literally lead to them being in a care facility. And these things aren't really complicated in some instances. Somebody living alone that doesn't have family, friends, resources, takes a fall and is not able to get in their home, ends up in a care facility. What happens in that scenario if you're renting an apartment or you're in a rental situation? Your income starts going to the care facility. Pretty soon you lost everything. That's really what can happen when you end up that far. So the prevention of that, or the transitioning of somebody out when they're in that rehab setting after an injury or something happening, is imperative that we try to get a hold of them. We try to get them out before they lose those things, because trying to get somebody out of a care facility after they've been in there many years, not only fighting the institutional mindset, but you're also trying to find housing. We heard from Dee Dee and everybody else, housing is at a premium. Trying to find the housing just to transition somebody out can be a significant challenge in these times and prior times when we've had a housing crunch in Nevada. So a little bit about the funding. This program has three sources of funding, primarily state funding, and the $140,000 from the Nevada SILC, and then Assistive Technology Act funding. The Assistive Technology Act funding and the SILC funding are focused towards the operations. That's about 23% of the entire budget. 77% of it goes directly to purchasing assistive technology services. That's building ramps, widening doors, modifying bathrooms, or putting the equipment that they can obtain through their own resources, whether that be Medicare, Medicaid, or insurance, into the home. That includes us looking at what's available through the Durable Medical Equipment Program at Care Chest, pulling things off the shelves, and accessing those free resources before we use those dollars. The state funding, the total budget funding for the state fiscal year was $1.6 million. And that's about the highest it's ever been for the program. Briefly, I'll just jump into a little bit about the service portion of it and the wait list. So again, the caseload data, I give you the budget information, which kind of aligns with the state fiscal year, but the data that I provide to the SILC that goes into your 704 report, or whatever it's called, the annual progress report, the caseload data is provided on that federal year. It's easier to provide that and then not switch it up in October when we go to report this stuff. But all of the data I try to provide for the consumers themselves is going to be on that federal year. So in this federal year, we have 295 consumers with independent living consumer service records. That's the requirement, right? They have to have an independent living goal, and we have to have either a signed plan or a signed waiver. Most often we have multiple goals, and I'll just kind of read a little bit about those. I randomly selected like 3 summaries of a consumer that contacted us. So this one says the consumer would like to be able to shower safely and with less difficulty. She'd like to be able to access her home safer and with a power wheelchair. She would like to be able to have mobility for longer distances and have access to her backyard. This is just a random grab. I just went and grabbed like 3 summaries just randomly in a row of 250 and 295 consumers. And this same thing, I could read the next 2 and you're going to see the same thing, right? There's barriers to getting in the bathroom. I can't get my mobility device, or I need a power mobility device to increase my personal mobility. Those are the types of goals we'll see. During this year, so from October until now, we have 232 independent living goals met, and that's related to the cases closed. Those numbers seem fairly close together: 295 consumers, 232 IL goals met. But those series of goals can spread out over the time. We probably have another 150 goals that are met for consumers' cases that are still opened. Just trying to keep that clarification. So when you see those numbers, we don't really calculate all of that stuff like you'll see in your annual report until the case is closed. Important stuff from our survey data. The important stuff from our consumers is we get around a 50% return rate, and that's a voluntary return rate for consumers, which is significant. In most voluntary survey instances, if you're getting 50%, something's going right. I believe we're still just a shade under 50%. During COVID, we'll take it. When people are trying to shelter, stay inside, and not be exposed, and send in their surveys, we're still above 40% and probably close to 50. 89% of the consumers reported that they use their modification or assisted technology daily. That's pretty significant. And what's even more significant is the remainder use it at least weekly. Almost 90% use it daily, the remainder use it weekly. That's impactful information because it tells us that the people that we're targeting need those devices, right? If they've waited 18 months for something that they use daily, it's kind of got a pretty significant impact. We have the wait list. Always the dark cloud in the program is that the program's always maintained a wait list. It is not nearly as significant early in my career, but it is still significant. It's upwards of 18 months before we have financial resources to actually do those things, to buy the shower chair or to widen the door, do those things. People may be waiting that long. We currently have 100 people that are waiting. And odd that it fell on a perfect 100 number. That number will probably take a drop. It will take a drop here in the next couple months as we start serving more the new consumers. We get our new state fiscal dollars. We're going to see that drop off, but then every consumer that comes on, it's just going to raise right back up. It's just coming on 20 years. This is the same trajectory that we look at every year. We tried to, again, identify priorities, get the people served that are going to be at the highest risk, and get them served and put the other things that we can down the road. Try to make the best informed decisions that we can with the consumer. There was one survey that I just input that really captured something. There's several that I could read, but there's one in particular that caught my eye. It's not as often that somebody takes the time and writes things out, but in the last couple months, we've had several consumers that did, and it's just good. It's good when you see 3 independent living specialists throughout the state, and they're all called out by the consumer by name and the impacts that they had. Saying things like, any questions that came up, Ashley promptly provided me with the answer. She's the greatest, Annabella was a blessing to me. Thank you so much. I appreciate the services. I didn't know this much help was available. There's one person that wrote an extensive comment about Bob Donnelly with Care Chest, talking about the excellent service he gave me. Bob always made sure I had choice and control. Yes, I do think the government should continue funding this program. We should keep this in Nevada. It's helped so many people, not only in Reno, but I'm sure in Las Vegas. With having Care Chest, I've been able to have my freedom and independence back. This has saved my mental health as well. Pretty impactful stuff, right? Again, I try to give you guys the survey data that we have, because we not only survey on satisfaction, but we ask those things that impact their life, right? We want to know more than just, were you satisfied, yes or no. We want to ask questions about your independence, positive impact, improved quality of life. So just on that note, the survey information that we have, 94% reporting excellent or very, very good satisfaction with the person that they were working with. 92% said they had a lot or quite a bit of control. 90% said it made a positive impact on their life. 87% said that their independence improved a lot or quite a bit. Another 80%, excuse me, I said 87%. 87% said their daily living improved. 80% said that they had an improved independence. So that just kind of gives you the overview of what the services are, some of the impacts, some of the information coming in, like what that summary of that person's needs were, is what you see coming in. Those flesh out into independent living goals, because each one of those things can actually be, could have a list of barriers, right? Being able to bathe doesn't just mean being able to go in and get in the shower. There's a host of barriers that could exist in that person's household. And until you go through and meet with the individual and really start breaking those down, and you start applying those solutions. And that's in a nutshell what we do, with that focus on that essential daily living. So I'll pause right there. I usually ramble on too long. Is there any questions or that anybody has?
This is Ace. Thanks, John. So I have a question that I was just kind of running through my head as you were speaking about people who are using wheelchairs or other maybe electric wheelchairs or other mobile devices to get around. When it comes to like bathrooms and things, what do you do, or what's being done for people who live in apartment complexes where the bathroom space is too small, or even the doorways are too small? Are apartment complexes accommodating people in working with you to, change out door frames, or, or is that, is that happening at all, or is that totally on the expense of the consumer? And then if the consumer moves or passes away, then it all is back on them to redo everything back to the way it was. Because I remember hearing that that's what was happening. Has that changed at all?
No. So do apartment buildings do the modification? Seldom. Some will. Some will. There's some instances where you have property management and that goes in and does a lot of stuff, or they prefer to do the work themselves, but they probably don't get into the more extensive things. Are there some things that can't be done structurally in an apartment? Absolutely. Those are the barriers. The positive side and I'll say dating myself back to when I first started, was a lot of houses weren't under the fair housing, right? The fair housing that had the 7 design requirements made a big difference. But the issue that even exists now is that the housing that's maybe more affordable is those that still fall under pre-fair housing, right? So there might be steps going in. There may be doors that are too narrow. The clear bathroom space is just not obtainable. I mean, there's just no way of removing a wall in a structured building to do that. But for the most part, I would say for the most part, it's seldom that you would have an apartment complex or something that doesn't work with you to the best of their ability. I say it's rare because you still have the ability to ask for that accommodation, but the responsibility is on you to obtain it. The responsibility is not on them to go and modify it to meet your needs. But going through, if that is a problem, we'd advise the consumer to go through Silver State Fair Housing and go through that process of filing for an accommodation. Now, there's some complexities that can happen with that, like you may have to put a deposit down for the retrofitting of that back. In large and in my experiences, most apartments aren't looking to modify them back to the way they were. It's a win-win. It's now got more accessibility features. It's more marketable. We're coming to an age where we have all the baby boomers that are retiring, are getting to that age. So accessibility is something that makes more sense. It's no longer like we're arguing about a universal design that meets everybody. There's people that are actually thinking of these things now. Instead of building a home with 6 steps into it, like how's this going to meet my needs longer term? So I hope that answers your question. I think in large, the apartment complexes aren't the issue. It's being what you are able to do in that. And is that going to meet the person's needs long term? Because our needs change, our wants change. If you eventually want to move into a different location or whatever, those don't follow you. So what's your plan going forward, right? And that's the part we really try to talk to consumers about, is thinking about what their plan is going forward, so that when they're making that plan, in my years of experience, people that call you on a Friday and say, I just moved out, now I can't get into my new apartment. That's an independent living thing. That's part of our planning. Try not to get into that position, of course, because we don't readily have the ability to just pick up and have a contractor there to fix things, as a rule.
Yeah, this is Ace. Yeah, thanks again, John. It's just wondering about that again, because I've lived in senior disabled apartment complexes where the doors, the main doors coming into the building are a real problem with where the key fob that you have to trigger the door to open is in one place, and you have to try to struggle with getting the door open. And if you've had a stroke and you're in a motorized chair or even a manual chair, wheelchair, trying to pull that door open in time after you've reached out, it gets a bit complex. And so I was just wondering about that.
You're right. And like on those older apartments, I mean, it's not uncommon to have a threshold or a step. So trying to accommodate what was never planned in the first place sometimes requires you to put ramp access into both places. And then you have a tenant that perhaps doesn't want that. Again, that's very seldom that we run into that issue that I'm aware of anymore. That's really a barrier for us completing what it is. I think our biggest barrier is having the resources to address things right now when people need them. To get into all the cases where consumers have passed away before we serve them, there's no guarantee that we may not have served them and they passed away shortly after. I mean, that's a whole can of worms trying to read the future there. But the reality is that if we're not able to address, if somebody's waiting that long for it, the old question used to be, do they really need it? Well, our survey data kind of argues against that, right? If 90% of the people, close to 90% of the people use it daily, it kind of shoots that in the foot, right? You may be getting by some other way that's not effective or efficient, or you're requiring assistance, or it's dangerous, or whatever those things may be. to say, well, you got by without 18 months of use of it, how come you need it now? Our survey data shoots that completely out of the sky. If 89% using it daily, the rest using it at least weekly. That's reason why survey data can be so impactful, right? Those are the real life impacts that relate to that consumer, and what that impact of that program was, and them achieving those goals. And that's the bigger piece. It's more than about ramps and grab bars and that. It's about helping them flesh out what that goal really is, and systematically going through and accomplishing it and having an outcome to that, and being able to report back whether that income was impactful to them or not. Thanks.
This is Ace. Thanks again, John, for that. Are there any other questions for John or comments?
This is Dawn Lyons. I have, we'll let Dee Dee ask first since she has her hand up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Didi.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that unfortunately, John, most people who have disabilities live in really old apartment complexes that were built before the ADA laws really were in place. And so it makes it difficult for a lot of people with disabilities. That's why I really believe in the fact that integration needs to occur so that people with disabilities can get into newer places that do have accommodations like wider doors and doors that are easier to open. I know we have an apartment complex here in Carson that was just built 10 years ago. The keypad is so far away from the door that people cannot do the keypad and get to the door before it clicks off and locks the door again. And so that's a big problem, I think, with a lot of our older apartments. And so unfortunately, most people with disabilities are in older, often dilapidated housing.
But Dee, this is John. I say statewide, we probably don't see that as significant. I mean, sure, that's what's most affordable, and being on disability, having been on disability at one point in my life, I know exactly what is affordable and what's not, and what wasn't accessible. Finding an accessible apartment at that time was impossible unless you had the money to buy something that was newly built. But I would say if you're running into people, please have them contact. I would just have them contact the Nevada AT Resource Center at UNR, and I'll provide you that information to have them start exploring what if there's a way to remove that barrier, whether it's getting in or widening the door or what. That's what our program's there to do, unless there's some barrier. And sometimes that barrier can be if individuals don't want to push back on that fair housing request for accommodation. Seldom we have that issue. Most of the time, you'll find people that we find that the people in the apartment buildings are willing to. They don't have the resource and they're not going to pay for it. But if we can come up with the options and the resources to make that modification, if we're improving it for one person, it's more likely improving it for everybody. And I'm talking like just standard housing. This is integrated. It doesn't matter if it's designated for 60 and over or people with disabilities. We have consumers that live in all types of different housing. So if there are barriers there, please either reach out to me directly and I'll try to get you to the most direct person, or you can contact the AT Resource Center initially, and it sounds more like that falls into like trying to find a solution before you're trying to find a resource to pay for the modification. So
yeah,
please get on me.
this is 60 and above apartment complex that was built about 10 years ago. And you can't, arm's length wise, you cannot reach the keypad and the door without, moving rather quickly, which some people, who are in chairs cannot do. And also some of us with mobility issues. You have to have the move of a football player to be able to get this door open. So anyway, John, if you could provide me with that number in the chat, I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Ace. Thanks, Dee Dee.
One-
Thanks, John. Yeah. I know John can do that for you, Dee Dee. Don, you had something you wanted to say as well?
Yeah, so this is Dawn Lyons, and my question is a little different than everybody else's, I'm sure. But I was kind of wondering, you said, what percentage of the funding from the AT and the IL, or the federal portion of the AT for IL program, is being used for. But I know that the total is 1.6 million. And so that I think that leaves around at least 1.4 million or so that is coming directly from the state. Is that used in the same ratio, or how is that money used exactly? And is it differently designated than the federal funding?
No, to keep John Roseland for the record, there's no designation. It's simplicity of use. Like, for instance, the federal assistive technology dollars can't be used to purchase assistive technology. That's written into that federal act. So those funds are directly just associated with the operational cost. I'll scroll back here a second to my notes. So the state funding was 1.3 million. And so the total pot of funds, the total pot of the 1.6 million, 77% of that, it's just a shade over 77%, goes to purchase the AT modification, whether that's again to simplify it, buying a shower bench, or modifying, widening a door, building a ramp, any of those things. If somebody doesn't have access to a power mobility device, and that's what's going to improve their independence, those resources would be used. And or they have the barrier of not being able to pay their co-payment for Medicare. That's a real deal right there. Once you engage in that process for Medicare and you stop, you can now be waiting. I think it's like 9 months before you can enter into that process again. Don't quote me on that, but there's some barriers there. So having those resources available to move forward with that is pretty important. But again, the simplicity is using the federal dollars towards the operations. It's like changing the color of the dollar, right? It doesn't matter which one goes where. Operations have to take place. You have to have staff to do those things. It's just easier to put those federal dollars kind of aligned with the operations. So there is a small portion. There's probably, I don't quote me, I don't have that specific number, but it's like in the neighborhood of $100 and some thousand that go towards the operational costs of the state funding.
So then is the wait list typically attributed to just the barriers from getting those goals met? Like you're talking about, maybe there's a waiting period for Medicare and things like that? That's mostly what that
there's
is?
no wait. Sorry. Yes, good question. So the wait list is really applies to having the resources to actually buy the assistive technology service, the modification or whatever. There's no wait list as to applying for the person developing that independent living goal. Those goals go forward based on what they want. If the consumer calls back and says, yes, I want to develop an independent living goal, that's the first barrier right there. Do you want to develop an independent living goal? There's no guarantee that we're going to have a funding source, because that could be 18 months down the road. But do you want to start this independent living goal and start exploring what your options are and what those solutions are? That starts taking place as soon as we pick up the phone. That means the wait list. Those people that are I keep waving my hand. I'm a hand talker, so I hit my computer, sorry. Those people are actually, their cases are going forward. We call it a wait list because they're waiting for resources to pay for those end services. But those people they're still getting somebody that's following up with them. Somebody's going to be meeting with them. Throughout that process, somebody is engaged with them, an independent living specialist is, to really look at what those barriers and goals are. Whether that means going and meeting with them in their home, or if that can be fleshed out at home. Over the phone. There's not a point where they're just applications are on hold and we're not taking new applications. No, that's never occurred.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
Okay, well, this is Ace. We are maybe a couple more minutes if there's any other questions for John. And then I'd like to kind of stop at 10 of for public comment, and then tomorrow we'll pick up.
It's actually, yeah. We have a couple more minutes before it's 10 of.
Right. So, so a couple more minutes. If there are any other questions for John at all? Okay, John, thank you again. Really appreciate you coming and spending time with us and updating us on everything. With the data that you're collecting. I agree with you. It's extremely important stuff we need, right, moving forward to, if we want to do anything with the legislation, we need that data to back anything up that we want to do. So I appreciate you very much.
No problem. Just one thing I will add, since you got a few minutes, and that is that CareChest, who works as our one of our assistive technology collaborative partners in the area of reuse. If you live in Northern Nevada, you're probably aware of like their 30-year history of providing durable medical equipment, is expanding to Southern Nevada, and that is it's important. And I'm always hesitant to put the focus on like the solution. These durable medical equipment just going to poof make your life better. It just removes barriers, but the importance of it is that in all the years that I've been involved, we have tried to set up trying to set up a reuse program where somebody can take stuff that's sitting in the closet, where it can be sanitized and given back out. We've tried, and we've put resources down there through the AT program for years, and it has always kind of ended in a failure. When there wasn't a resource available, the program just ended. So having them move down there, and this is this is like one of their missions. This has been they've been in it for 30 years. It's a co-mission for us and our assistive technology, but I think that's going to have a huge impact to that community. So I'm looking forward to that. If Ann was here, she could give a little bit more of an update, but that's going to be a positive down there, and it's going to really impact those daily living things that people have barriers to obtaining. So thanks. I'll shut up now. Have a great day.
This is Ace. Thanks, John. We'll look forward to hearing those updates about what's happening in Southern Nevada then as well, from you or for Ann. If you're both here, that would be great. Okay, let's stop here. And tomorrow, again, 1 p.m. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to open it up for public comment. And tomorrow we'll pick up at item number 10 and move forward with the rest of our agenda. So
I'm sorry, this is Dawn Lyons. I believe you mean we'll start up at item number 9.
Oh, item number 9, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong number. Thank you very much for that clarification. We will start on item number 9. Anyway, is there any other public comment at this time?
So before anyone else speaks up, because I don't see any virtual hands right now, this is Dawn Lyons for the record, and I just wanted to say that I noticed that our sign language interpreters have left the meeting early. This time I was not asked. I don't know if our other staff was asked or not, but I don't think we were asked if it was okay if they left. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that I will be letting the ASL provider company know that that's unacceptable, because at any time we could have someone from the public join us that may need that service, and we are actually paying them for it. So just want to let everyone know that that's what I was noticing.
Yeah, this is Ace. Thank you, Dawn, for that. And yeah, we are paying for them to be here. Aren't we paying for two? From both left?
Yes.
So, okay. Is there any other public comment? Well,
don't see any hands up.
maybe we can end a few minutes early. That's great. Well, thank you to everybody who hung in there with us through the almost entire 2 hours. Really appreciate you being here as always. Look forward to seeing everybody again tomorrow. Moving forward, we have a lot of really good things tomorrow on our agenda that we will be addressing. So thank you all. And I see a lot of chat things popping up here. So thank you all. See you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Thank you.